I hosted my niece's wedding shower, paid for the catering, and even covered the venue deposit. A week later, she sent a group text announcing I was no longer welcome at the wedding. No one spoke up for me. So, I made a reservation of my own, right next door. I'm 58 years old, divorced, no kids. I live in Naperville, Illinois. I've been working at the same medical billing office for 21 years now. I'm not rich by any means, but I've always been careful with my money. I live simple. I've always believed that family comes first. My sister Brenda has a daughter named Jessica. She's 26. I've always been close with Jessica, or at least I thought I was. When she was a little girl, I used to take her to the Morton Arboretum on weekends, just the two of us. I helped her buy her first car when she turned 17. Paid the down payment myself. I've been there for every birthday, graduation, breakup. I was proud of her. She was smart, got into University of Iowa, got a marketing job downtown after. When she got engaged last spring, I was truly happy for her. I told her right away I wanted to throw her a bridal shower. She said yes, seemed excited. She wanted something classy but casual, so I booked a place near downtown Naperville that had a nice courtyard and indoor space. The venue deposit was $1,500. I paid it without blinking. She sent me Pinterest boards of her vibe. Lots of blush pink, gold accents, those balloon walls everyone's obsessed with now. I hired a local florist for the centerpieces, rented gold chairs, ordered personalized cookies with her and her fiancé's initials. I even booked a catering service that had a mimosa bar set up because she said that was non-negotiable. All in all, I spent just over $5,000. I don't say that to brag. I say it because it was a lot for me. That was my vacation money, my safety net. But I did it because I love her. That's all. The shower went perfectly. Everyone complimented how beautiful it was. Jessica hugged me and smiled for photos. She never said thank you in front of the group, but I figured maybe she'd call later. She didn't. She did post a long Instagram story about the shower, with dozens of pictures. She wrote, "Thank you to everyone who helped make this day so magical," but didn't tag me, didn't name me at all. I told myself not to overthink it. Then, exactly 7 days later, I got a group text. There were about 14 of us on it, family, and a few cousins. Jessica sent this message. "Hey everyone. After some tough conversations, we've decided to keep our wedding guest list super small and intimate. Unfortunately, Aunt Arlene will no longer be attending. Please respect our decision." That was it.
No explanation.
No call. No warning.
Just that.
I remember sitting at my kitchen table, just staring at the message. My ears were ringing. I scrolled up and reread it 3 times to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. I wasn't. I waited. Someone would speak up. Brenda, Shirley, or one of my other siblings.
Frank?
Karen? No one said anything. Not even a wait. What? I sent a private message to Brenda. All I said was, "What is this about?" 2 hours later, she replied, "It's Jessica's decision. She just wants to feel safe and drama-free on her wedding day. I'm sure you understand." Safe from what? I had never raised my voice at that girl in my life. I had never started an argument, never criticized her. I had just dropped $5,000 on her shower. For what? To be humiliated like this? I didn't reply. I just sat there in my kitchen and cried. I cried the way you cry when something finally breaks after years of holding everything in. And I was angry, not just at Jessica, but at all of them. Every single person who stayed quiet. I didn't tell anyone how hurt I was. I didn't ask to be added back to the guest list. But I also wasn't going to pretend like it didn't happen. 3 days later, I made some calls. I knew the wedding was being held at Whitley Gardens in Geneva, a nice venue that sits on a big property with multiple halls. They were booked for the main vineyard ballroom, but there's a smaller hall on the other side of the garden courtyard that they usually rent for corporate dinners or smaller weddings. I asked if it was free that day.
It was.
I booked it.
Same day. Same time.
4 p.m. Saturday. And I made a reservation of my own. After I booked the space next door, I sat with the decision for a few days before telling anyone. It wasn't about revenge at first. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I didn't send out formal invites. I just called a few people, not the ones on Jessica's guest list. A couple of old coworkers, my friend Marcy from the clinic, my neighbor Sharon, and her husband.
Good people.
People who knew what I'd done for Jessica and how I'd been treated. They didn't ask many questions. They just said they'd be there. I didn't try to compete with her wedding. I didn't hire a band or rent a photo booth. I kept it simple. A few catered trays from a nice Italian place, wine and punch, soft music. The point wasn't to show off. It was just to exist, to be present, to not be erased. But word got out fast. My niece Rachel, Jessica's cousin, texted me 2 weeks before the wedding. Is it true you're throwing a party the same day as Jess's wedding?
I didn't lie.
I said, I booked a private room next door. I figured it was as good a day as any. She replied, Jessica's freaking out. She says you're trying to sabotage her big day. Sabotage? I hadn't sent a single nasty message. Hadn't talked behind her back. Hadn't posted anything online. I'd stayed completely silent. Rachel added, she thinks you're trying to draw guests away. She said you're being vindictive. I didn't respond. I just stared at my phone again, like I had the night of that first group text. It hit me again, not just how hurt I was, but how easily they had flipped the story. I went from being the person who paid for her shower to the villain, the drama she had to cut out. That week, I got disinvited from the family group chat. I didn't even know you could be removed like that, but I was
No explanación.
just gone. I heard secondhand that Jessica told the rest of the family, if you're going to her event, don't bother coming to mine. So it became a test of loyalty. Some people folded fast. Brenda obviously didn't speak to me. My brother Frank sent me a short email that said, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Let it go. Let it go. Let go of being humiliated in front of the whole family. Let go of being disrespected after giving thousands of dollars and years of love. It wasn't about the damn wedding anymore. It was about them rewriting the story, turning me into the problem just because I wouldn't stay quiet. 2 days before the wedding, I got a knock at my door. It was someone from the Whitley Garden staff. She looked young, maybe college age. Nervous. She handed me a letter, not official, just printed on regular paper. It was from Jessica and her fiancé. It said, we respectfully ask that you cancel your event out of consideration for our special day. Your presence on the property will be a distraction. We'd appreciate it if you would reschedule. There was no apology.
No ownership.
Just another message telling me I didn't belong. I folded the letter, thanked the staff girl, and closed the door. I didn't cancel. I doubled the wine order instead. The day of the wedding came fast. It was sunny, cool breeze, one of those rare perfect Saturdays in early fall. I arrived early to set up. Nothing fancy. White tablecloths, platters of baked ziti, chicken parm, garlic bread. I brought my own Bluetooth speaker and played soft jazz, just enough to give the room warmth. A dozen people came, just like I expected. Not a big crowd, but every one of them looked me in the eye and said some version of the same thing. You didn't deserve what they did to you. It meant more than they probably realized. The private hall I'd booked was just over a hedge and pathway from the wedding venue's courtyard. You couldn't see directly into the ceremony, but you could hear the music, the laughter. We kept to ourselves. No one snuck over. We weren't trying to crash anything. But around 5:30, one of my guests, Linda, from my old office, came back from the bathroom and said quietly, you should know, there's a lot of whispering next door. Apparently, Jessica had found out we were still there, eating, laughing, dressed nicely, and didn't like it. She told the venue staff to call security to make sure no uninvited guests crossed over. I laughed at that. I had zero interest in going near her event. But still, I felt a chill go down my spine. The message was loud and clear. They didn't just cut me out, they wanted me invisible. That's when the real twist hit. Around 6:15, I was refilling cups when I saw someone walk into our hall. It was Brenda, my sister. She looked tired.
Pale.
Her heels clicked softly on the floor. I froze. Everyone turned to look. She said, "Can we talk?" I stepped outside with her. We stood near a row of hedges between both halls. Her eyes were watery. "Jessica's losing it," she said. "She saw your party on someone's Instagram story and started crying in the middle of the reception."
I didn't say anything.
"Just waited. She thinks you did this to humiliate her," Brenda went on. "She's saying she wants to shut the whole thing down." I stared at her, waiting for the part where she acknowledged what they did to me. Brenda took a breath. "You could fix this, you know. Just come over, give her a hug, tell her you forgive her. Say, it was all a misunderstanding. Please, Darlene." I actually laughed. It came out bitter and sharp. "Let me get this straight," I said. "She bans me from her wedding after I pay for her shower. Publicly humiliates me. Lets the whole family treat me like trash. And now that she's upset on her big day, I'm supposed to make it better?" Brenda's face twisted. "You're being petty." That word.
Petty.
I leaned in.
No, Brenda.
"I'm being done." And I walked back inside. The rest of the night, we danced. We toasted. Someone brought out a karaoke mic, and we sang until almost 10 p.m. I never once stepped foot near her wedding. But I saw the posts later. Jessica's Instagram went dark. Then private. Someone told me she stormed out before the cake was even cut. There was drama. Accusations. People taking sides. I didn't start any of it. But I let it play out. The weeks after the wedding were quiet. Too quiet. I wasn't getting the usual texts or calls from Brenda. No casual updates, no forwarded photos. I knew I'd been cut out fully this time. Not just from the wedding. From the family. Rachel called me once, about 10 days later. She said, "I don't know what happened, but Jessica's been spiraling." Apparently, word had spread beyond the family. Some of her friends, people who saw both events on social media, started asking questions. Like why her aunt who threw the whole bridal shower wasn't at the wedding. Why half the family looked awkward in the pictures. Why the bride looked angry in most of the shots. I didn't post anything. I didn't comment. But people started piecing things together on their own. Then I heard from Frank, the same brother who told me to let it go. He called one night out of the blue and said, "You know, this could have all been avoided if you just handled it privately." I snapped. "You mean privately like that group text she used to kick me out? Or privately like the letter they had some poor girl drop off at my door, telling me to cancel my reservation?" He didn't answer that. The thing is, they all thought I'd disappear quietly. That I'd stay home, maybe cry a little and move on. That's what they were used to. But this time I didn't.
And it shook them.
I started hearing little bits here and there. Jessica's photographer backed out of releasing the final album because she hadn't finished paying the balance. She claimed she'd been distracted. The DJ left early, claiming miscommunication about his contracted hours. And several guests had quietly told others they felt uncomfortable at the reception. The vibe was tense, forced. People noticed how cold Brenda was to certain relatives, how Jessica barely smiled by the end of the night. It wasn't sabotage. I didn't do anything. I just stopped protecting their story. Then, a few weeks later, something arrived in my mailbox that I didn't expect. An invoice. $1,050 for additional rental coverage from Whitley Gardens. Apparently, because of the proximity and guest confusion, they decided to split extra staffing and overtime fees between the two events. I called the venue immediately. They confirmed it. Jessica's wedding had run late. They used extra staff. And now they were trying to stick me with half the bill. I didn't pay it. I got a lawyer instead. Not for a lawsuit, I didn't want to fight over $1,000. But I wanted to be ready. Because I'd kept receipts. Emails. Texts. The shower invoice. Photos. The letter they sent asking me to cancel. And I was done being quiet. I still hadn't posted anything publicly. But I was getting ready to. Not for attention. Not for pity. For truth. I didn't want drama. I wanted dignity. But when they tried to charge me for their mess, that crossed a line. I had every receipt. Every invoice. Every photo from the shower. Every message. The group text disinviting me. Brenda's message saying it was Jess's day. The letter asking me to cancel my own event. And now this. A bill trying to make me financially responsible for their own poor planning. That's when I did it. I didn't go to social media. I went to the one place I knew Jessica watched like a hawk, the Naperville Brides Facebook group. It's private, but I'm in it, and so is she. A lot of vendors are too. I posted a long, calm message. No names, just facts. I described how I threw a shower for a relative, paid over $5,000. I explained how I was cut out a week later without warning, publicly, cruelly. How I booked a small event next door, quietly, without protest. How I received a bill weeks later for costs I had nothing to do with. I attached screenshots, blurred names, but clear details. I didn't speak with anger. I let the facts speak. Within 2 hours, the post had over 300 reactions and dozens of comments. Brides shared their horror. Vendors spoke up. Someone tagged Whitley Gardens. A few shared stories of similar behavior by certain families. People weren't dumb, they figured it out. Then the real fallout began. Jessica DM'd me the next morning. Why are you trying to destroy me? I didn't respond. Brenda called that night. I let it go to voicemail. By the end of the week, 3 vendors had dropped their tags of Jessica's wedding on Instagram. One even reposted the bridal shower photos I'd paid for with a new caption. We stand by those who treat vendors and family with respect. It snowballed. Jessica tried to post her own version of events. She called it setting the record straight. But it was too late. Her tone was bitter, defensive, and people saw through it. Someone even linked my post underneath hers. Her comments blew up. Then Rachel, her cousin, my niece, did something I'll never forget. She reposted the original group text Jessica had sent, the one disinviting me, and wrote, "This is what started it." I stayed quiet. I won't anymore. Aunt Darlene deserved better. That was the final crack. A few more relatives reached out quietly. Apologies. Regret. But it didn't change what had happened. A month later, I received a letter from Whitley Gardens. The invoice had been withdrawn. They said, "We regret any confusion regarding the billing and have waived the charges in full." They also said they were updating their contract terms due to what they called an unfortunate client dispute. That was enough for me. I didn't sue. I didn't keep posting. I didn't go to Thanksgiving that year either, the first time in 25 years. I spent it with my friend Marcy's family. They made me a plate. They made space. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen. Because sometimes revenge isn't about ruining someone's life. It's about refusing to let them rewrite yours. And that day, I took my story back.